Well, hello back there. So it's become a little bit of a December tradition that at some point I realize we're coming to the end of the year, and I'm like, I start looking at stuff that I've been sitting on for like, a year or more, and thinking, boy, I should probably finally do some scoring on these. I had grand plans for doing copious notes and doing dedicated reviews. No. It's just time to pound through these and get some scores out. And in case you were wondering, no, I am not going to take all of these in one flight. Not technically. We're going to do 3 flights of 2 because these are 3 pairs from various Highland Scotch distilleries. So I'm going to put these 2 over here and these 2 over here. We got some Glengariochs and some Glenglassa coming up, but we're going to start out with Pulteney. Old Pulteney. I've reviewed them on the channel before. This was a real kind of revelation for me. We're talking 15, 20 years ago when I first got my bottle of Pulteney 12-year-old. I had like a whole bunch of other malts at that point. I had the Ardbegs, I'd had the Aberlour Abanas, Glendronachs. I'd had a few things. I was not a novice. Pulteney flipped a switch for me because it was the first malt I'd had where I didn't know what I was going to get when I opened the bottle. Or when I added a little bit of water. I didn't know what I was going to do. Would it, basically taste like salted peanut butter? Would it taste like this kind of delicate strawberry fruity thing that it does? Would it taste like a really aggressive, maritime lemon kind of thing? I never knew. And that always made it look really exciting. That was one of my favorite bottles of all time, and I still continue to keep a soft spot in my heart for Pulteney. So we're going to review 2 here. What have I got? I bought these over the course of the last 2 years or so, and I'm just now getting around to them. First one is Old Pulteney Flotilla, 2010. Another vintage of this got a huge score from Sir Valentine, so I really like to try it. 10 years old, all in American oak. I think it's all second fill oak, maybe? I'll have to double check that. It says somewhere. Yeah. Hand-selected second fill ex-bourbon barrels. Nice. And we have got The Ultimate. 2008. 14-year-old. Wait, I've already filled these glasses. Sorry. It's a weird day. Bear with me. This is 14 years, also in bourbon barrel, 2008 vintage, and we'll get to the details as we get to it. But let's start with the Flotilla on the nose. Pulteney's just, they don't have peat, right? You'll see sherried versions, but they don't really do the sherry bomb thing. So it's a lot of the character is just down to the location. It's used to be the furthest, the most northerly distillery on the Scottish Highland. I think it's been overtaken by Kingsbarn, but it's still really far north, and it's right next to the sea, and the warehouses are right next to the sea, so you got a really maritime character. And they have worm tubs, and they have these really kind of squat stills with weird they're weird stills. And a lot of this just gives it a character that's very, very, very distinctive. And it works well in bourbon cask. I am getting a lot of green tea on this. It's like, so take some green tea, like some really, really strong, like different green teas, maybe some gunpowder green, also some more delicate stuff, and put them in a big pot together, and then take a big scoop of vanilla ice cream, plop it down in the middle of that pot. That's what this smells like. But yeah, there is a little bit of like a salted caramel character to this too. We're not getting like full blown like sea breeziness on this flotilla, but it's still showing a little bit of a salty character. And there's a ginger note to this. It's not. Don't be scared. So ginger can sometimes show up as like just a very aggressive raw oak note, especially when you see virgin oak used in malt maturation. That's not what's happening here. I think it's just that kind of green tea worm tubby thing interacting with maybe a sawdusty element from the wood that's giving this. And there is a little bit of a sawdusty element, but it's not that raw. It's like there's a little kiss of vanilla, the ice cream thing. But it's very, it's very spirit forward. It's like a Pulteney Reposado. What else we got? We got applesauce. We got touches of different kinds of honey, really, like wildflower honey, but a little bit of like a manuka honey thing too. More green tea, even a little oolong showing up. It reminds, in some ways, I hadn't thought about this before, but it actually reminds me a little bit of like Speyburn, which is really on the, completely the opposite end of the Highlands at the south of the Speyside. But yeah, there's the common character. White pepper, cardamom pods, a little bit of like a cream of wheat kind of note. I don't remember what Serge scored his version, but it was pretty darn high. We were pushing 90 or so. Again, I bought this years ago. All right, on the palate. I don't think I'm going to get to 90 on this one, though. It's delicious. It's like just very refreshing and characterful without falling into these stereotypes that Scotch whiskey can fall into. Your granddad who thinks all Scotch is, like matured in sherry and extra smoky. No, this is not that. Lemon bars with sea salt on top. It's vanilla wafers. Yeah, let's go with that. There's a graininess in there, or really more like a vanilla cream of wheat kind of thing. Let's stick with that. Yeah, the lemon isn't really present on the nose. Might be a touch of like orange rind, but not really lemon. But it's there on the palate in kind of this grainy, desserty form. It's a bit short in the mouth. Most of what's happening is happening up front. That's 10 years old in refill casks. But I'm digging it. I'm still digging it. There's a little bit of minerality to this. I feel like I'm licking a wet rock. Tea, yes, we're more on like oolong than green tea on the palate, and it's It's more subtle. It's less stewed tea. It's more like the leaves, like oolong leaves. A little Lapsang Souchong in there as well. Just a kiss. Hints of honey again, but again, it's more of a different honey. It's almost a bitter honey, like a honeydew honey, German forest honey kind of thing. Actually has a lot of little nooks and crannies to it. On first impression, I wasn't getting a full sense of the complexity of this, but there's lots of little details going on here. And most of them aren't cask driven. Most of them are just kind of the character of the spirit. And that's I think that's the fun here. I think that's the selling point. It's a very, very Pulteney expression of Pulteney. Other stuff. Some black pepper. That kind of fresh ginger note is in play. Not my favorite Pulteney I've ever had, and I think Serge and I are going to have to disagree on this one, but a very delicious expression of one of my favorite distilleries. Moving on. This is the ultimate natural color, non-chill filtered Pulteney Highland single malt, cask number 800-004. Distilled May 27th, 2008, and bottled in August 22. 14 years old, bourbon barrel, and that's all the info you need. On the nose. Interesting, more creamy, this, and a little bit less maritime. Yeah, there's like almost a strawberry cream kind of thing coming through on this. Which it reminds me of the old 12-year-old. That's really interesting, but it's strawberry cream that's been like cut with maybe like some lemon zest. Slightly floral. Just some fresh wildflowers coming through. Touch of vanilla, but it's pretty subtle. Tea, maybe a little. Yeah, like an unstewed matcha kind of note. Yeah, a little bit of like a brine thing, just to kiss, much less in the flotilla. What's really dominating this is that kind of like strawberry lemon zest cream thing. A little bit of sawdust coming through now. Ginger, but it's like powdered ginger this time rather than than fresh ginger. And a heck of a lot of white pepper. This is fun. This is one of those ones I anticipate to be just a completely different beast the second I add water to it. Because, I mean, Pulteney will do that. Pulteney will just turn on a dime with you. And that's part of the fun. That's part of the ride. It's an absolute character. And, 20 odd years ago, I just didn't know that spirits could do that. So, yeah. On the palate. Lots of black pepper. Much more austere than I was anticipating. Lots of like wet rocks. There's some like tobacco ash, like half burnt tobacco, like someone started smoking like a Virginia Oriental leaf, but then like it got half burned and they had to dump it. There's a little bit of that going on. There's more sea salt on the palate than on the nose. Pulteney can do this too. This is the more austere side of Pulteney. There's a lot of like lemon peel, lemon rind kind of stuff going on. A little bit of orange with that sea salt, bitterness, like ancient hotel coffee, hotel lobby coffee. There's some vanilla, like a couple of vanilla beans in there. Some like bitter cinnamon stick. Yeah, austere is the word, but keep an eye on this because. So I should say I haven't really dug into either of these in a couple of months. I popped them earlier today to get some air in the bottle. I don't know if it does anything, but on the off chance. But this, knowing Pulteney, this is the one I would anticipate to kind of throw some new things at me after I add water. We shall see, though. That's squirt in that glass. Back to the Flotilla. But now the Flotilla is starting to get that kind of strawberry cream thing that the other one was. Actually, you know what it smells like? You know the little dried strawberries you get in Special K, the strawberry cereal? You know those things? That is what this smells like. In fact, it really kind of smells like the strawberry Special K, but with a whole bunch of sea salt and rocks and stuff dumped into it. Yeah, the green tea again has kind of turned more like into leaves rather than stewed tea. Vanilla. Yeah, this is really beginning to approach the profile of the last one. So I'm curious to see what the palate does on the palate. It gets more peppery. It brings a little bit of that kind of like old hotel lobby coffee thing, but it's also it cleans it up with, it brings a little bit more fruit to it. That a little bit of the honey note, the strawberry note. I just love this distillery. It just is constantly dancing on this knife edge between like delicately beautiful and like kind of bitter and salty and austere, and it's that dance that makes it fun and interesting. I mean, the flavors are always fascinating on these. The development and the mouth presence are not totally upholding the potential of the spirit here. It's still a little bit short in the mouth. Again, it's a little bit young. Refill casks. The finish, the peppery thing holds on pretty well, but most of the other elements, the flavor elements of the finish, kind of fall away pretty quickly. But not super quickly. It's a medium finish. It's not a long finish. I don't want to Scrooge this. I'll still give this a decent enough score. I'm going to call this... can I Get up to 85. Yeah, 85. Let's call this an 85. Nice, clean 85 for the Pulteney Flotilla 2010. And then back to the ultimate. Now I'm getting peach. Where is peach coming from? Yeah, it's take a peach, slice it open, cover the insides with like sea salt and green tea, and that's what this smells like. What an absolute chameleon Pulteney is. Okay, there's more of a cardamom note coming through. There's a little bit of an herbaceous thing. What is that? Hard to say. It's almost like a seaweed note. You know? Can't pin it down any further than that. It's something seaweedy. Oh, it's just, I love the noses on these because they're always just, they're delicate. They're always very, you always feel like you have to go to them to figure out what's going on. But that isn't always a bad thing. You have to kind of, these make you think a little bit. On the palate. I told you. So now that I've had a little bit of water to this, it's opened up just beautifully on the palate. So now it's bringing more of a rich honey note, more of like a wildflower honey, like an orange blossom kind of honey. It's bringing that strawberry cream thing that I was getting on the nose. But that being said, we're still getting a lot of bourbon cask, a lot of coffee notes, a lot of vanilla, black pepper. And yeah, we're getting more tea notes. Oolong. Score-wise, it's going to be higher. I'm not going to get this into the stratosphere, but it's at least an 86. Finishes a little bit longer. I'm going to go 86 plus. 86 plus for this ultimate 14-year-old. And both the... Oh, Jesus, it's smudged. Both of these are just like... Pulteney in general. It's not something where, you go to a whiskey bar or whiskey festival or something, or even just with friends, and you get a glass and... it immediately strikes you. Pulteney, you need to spend some time with it, on its own, because it just tends to get run over by other character malts out there. It's just not that outgoing. It's gonna make you work for it. But if you get a good one and you do put the time in, boy oh boy, is it just a fantastic malt. But it is not the only Highlander here. There are two others that are competing. And the next one up, we're basically doing these in order of how strong the bottlings are. Next up is Glenglassaugh. Glenglassaugh is a distillery that was closed for a long, long, long time. And then it was reopened by someone, and then they got bought up by Glengarioch, and then Glengarioch got bought out by Brown-Forman. So technically, this is the Jack Daniels folks, although they didn't do this distilling, obviously. Glenglassaugh is Eastern Highlands. They're right outside of the Speyside region. It's sort of, on the northern coast. So I mean, basically, you know where like Tomatin is, like just outside of Speyside, but on the west side on the northern coast. Like Glenglassaugh is basically that on the east side, right? So we're going to talk about Glengarioch in a little bit, but that sort of gives you some sense of the geography. Now, what have I got here? I got 2 official bottlings. How about that? One is the 12-year-old. Look at that. This has won all kinds of awards, and I really, really wanted to try it, and then I bought it, and it kind of went in the queue, and I never pulled it out again. But here we go. 45%. We'll get to that in a second. And also a single cask. I think this was a Binny's pick. I think it was a Binny's pick. But what's special about this is, well, first of all, it's a 10-year-old. 2012 vintage. But the cask is an American wine hogshead, which should be terrifying. But I wanted to give this one a chance, and maybe I'll talk about why when we get to it. Whew. Good Lord. Okay. Glenglassaugh. No warm tubs. Pretty conventional in a lot of ways. Like, at least compared to some of the Highland whiskies. I don't really know what to say about these guys, so let's just get to tasting. I had some older, like pre-closure Glengassaughs, which were really, really interesting and fun. And I haven't really dug into the new stuff yet. I wasn't a huge fan of like some of the older younger releases. The Evolution wasn't my favorite. So I'm really excited to see what this does with some proper aging. Let's go. Glenglassaugh 12-year-old. Interesting. This also has a little bit of a coastal influence to it. There's a part of my brain which is saying peat, but I don't think there's actually any peat on this. But there is like a seashell, like sea breeze kind of character to this, which puts my brain in like a peat mode, and I think there's a little bit of an herbaceous character to this, which is also putting my brain in like a peat mode. There's a little bit of like an oregano, sage sort of thing happening. But yeah, vanilla, oatmeal, pear, like a little bit of like a bitter apple, cider apple kind of thing. Orange peel, definitely. Clover honey, like floral honey. Hints of sherry, like a little bit of like a prune soaked in Bovril, beef bouillon kind of thing. Just a little bit. Vanilla bean, white pepper. It's a good nose. It's a complex nose. It's whispering at peat, but it's not really there. And besides that, there's just lots of little elements going on that are kind of playing with each other. I will say, like, Springbank fans, come in the room. This might be of interest to you because it's got that kind of ensemble cask kind of character. What else we got? We have got a little bit of like a banana note, actually. Yeah, or really more like a banana bread kind of note, which is interesting. Yeah, slightly nutty. as well. Maybe like half a cherry or something. It's interesting. This is also, like the Pulteney, being a little bit of a chameleon, but I think it's more due to the casks than due to the actual character of the spirit. Which is fine. Maybe like one little pineapple chunk in here too. Nice. Let's give this a try. This is excellent. This is really, really quite nice. Again, it's got like that kind of balance of different factors, ensemble cask thing going on. We never mistake this for a Springbank, but it's got a little bit of that energy, a little bit of that. It's a little bit on that vibe, which also makes it kind of tough to describe. There is a distinct peanut skins kind of character coming through, especially on the finish, but it really shows up, especially in the mid palate. Yep. Very, very malty up front. Oatmeal, pear, orange slices. Honey, clover honey, again, floral honey. And it starts to get more nutty, and as it kind of goes through, you get a little bit of that kind of like Bovril soaked prune kind of thing, I guess, from the sherry casks. Fun. Again, a little bit herbaceous. Sage. Not basil. What is that? More sage. Let's go with more sage. I think they're in the same plant family. Eucalyptus, maybe? Sure. Let's go with that. Oregano. Even a little dill. Touch of green strawberry on this. This is, it's. I think the 14 Pulteney was older than this, but this feels like it has more cask influence, and that's showing in terms of the mouth length. This is really starting to tickle my tonsils a little bit, which speaks to the quality. Good mouth presence, good long finish. That banana bread thing. A little bit of a gummy worm thing happening as well. This is quite good. And absolutely worth your attention. I wouldn't give this to a beginner because there's nothing to grab. There's no one thing to grab onto. It's all like, a symphony balancing against each other. But if you know your malts already, you might look into this. Let's give that a squirt of water and move on to this potentially cursed wine cask. All right, what is this and why did I buy it? All right, this is cask number 521, distilled May 9th, 2012, bottle 2022. Oh, it's a 9-year-old, I'm sorry, not 10. 58.4% alcohol, 281 bottles. And again, aged in an American wine hogshead. And the reason why, good Lord, the reason why I wanted to buy this is because I have tended to badmouth wine casks a lot. Dry wine casks, anyways. So, dry, unfortified wine casks. So, sherry I'm cool with. Port, maybe. Sauterne I'm cool with. Madeira I'm cool with. There's a lot of wine casks I'm cool with. And I'm a wine nerd, remember. But a lot of times when I see, like, red wine finish advertised, I'm like, no thanks, I'm not into this. What I haven't really had a lot of experience with, because I haven't sought them out, is full maturation in ex-wine casks. I just haven't put the time in. And this seemed like a good opportunity, de facto newish distillery with a good reputation, American wine casks. What has it got? How is this? What this is a heck of a lot of fun. Again, I nose this, and my brain is telling me there's peat here, but there isn't actually any peat here. It's just a combination of some of the elements. There's a sea breeze thing again, like a seashell, crushed seashell kind of thing happening. A little bit of an herbaceous element. Sage again. There is actually basil this time. So it feels like there's just a whisper of peat in there, but there really isn't. Beyond that, oatmeal, yeah. Clover honey, yeah. And also like wildflower honey as well. And the big thing is Tootsie Rolls. This really smells like you just melted down some Tootsie Rolls and slather them over like a really competent malty Highland malt. And I'm not going to lie, I'm kind of digging it. I don't know what they did to this. It wasn't a dripping wet cask, right? Because I'm just not getting what I would call dripping wet cask, character. I don't know if this was a red wine or like a Chardonnay or something. I have no idea because they didn't tell me. But what I'm getting is, Tootsie Rolls. And then also that herbaceousness, and it's getting stronger. The sage is really stepping up, and there's a little bit of a... Okay, maybe this was a red wine cask. I don't really know. Because, we're getting more ripe strawberry, a little bit of... it's not raspberry, almost more like a red currant kind of note. So red fruits. Just poking through there, maybe a little bit of like a cherry pit kind of thing, like a cherry nuttiness. I'm not going to lie, it's sort of an obnoxious nose. It's loud, it's in your face. It might have some balance problems, honestly, but I don't hate it. I really don't. On the palate, sorry, that was my wife confirming that she's picking up our youngest daughter later this afternoon. It is so Tootsie Roll driven. One more time. In some ways, it's got a lot of the same kind of like ensemble cask complexity as was going on in the 12. There's lots of little elements playing against each other. There's some black tea kind of stuff happening. That herbaceous kind of thing. Sage, basil, oregano. That like peanut skin thing is absolutely in play here. Oatmeal, honey, clover honey, even a little bit of a beery note, like a little bit of a doppelbock kind of note happening here. It's like all those things were playing against each other: seashells, sea breeze, and then like you had this complicated cask chemistry going on, and then like you just drizzled Tootsie Roll all over the whole thing, and yet I don't hate it. Because it doesn't feel superficial. It feels like they're not telling me it's not a finish, but it doesn't feel like a finish. It feels like whatever the heck this cask was doing has really permeated the whole thing. It just works. There's some green apple here, pear again. Super duper not subtle, this particular bottling, but the quality is there. It's pretty dang good. So yeah, kudos to Glenglassaugh for this little monster right here. We'll give it some water, come back to it. 2, 3, 4. It's gonna take 5. Oh yeah, it'll take 5. All right. Now you may be saying to yourself, Scott, you're doing like basically 3 flights here. Why not just split these into different videos? Because I'm trying to get stuff done before the end of the year. God damn it. And I want to have these reviews done and out of the queue. Back to the 12. Oh. There was a second I was thinking, am I going to score the Glenglassaugh, the wine cask thing better than the 12? But I don't think I can. There's some beautiful like aromatic pear notes coming through now. But it's also very grainy. It feels like the spirit is reasserting itself, and it's a very, very just rich, malty, like fruity spirit. Got a little bit of that like crushed sea shell kind of thing. Honey. They just kind of did it right with this. Really, with this thing too, although it's its own style. On the palate, water brings out the spirit, the maltiness, the honey, the pear, apple kinds of stuff. But it doesn't fundamentally change the profile. There's still that kind of like peanut skin thing going on. That dried fruit, savory sherry cask thing going on, the herbaceousness. Really good mouth length. Solid finish. I bought this a while back and I've totally forgotten about it until now. But the folks who piled awards on this, I can see it, to be honest. Like, this is... It's not a superstar malt, That's not what you're getting here. This is, it's got character, but it doesn't, it's never going to have that super duper high ceiling. This is Ball Blair. All right. This is like, what do we got? Auchentoshan, something with a really strong character to it that if it's presented well can just, absolutely win some hearts. Score-wise, pretty dang good, and it does improve the water. I'll match the Pulteney 14. I'll give this an 86 plus. I think this is very good. And again, if you are, kind of, it doesn't taste like Springbank, but if you are in the market for that kind of like complex, balanced sort of profile, give this a look. Give it a shot. I think you'll be delighted. Moving on. Oh, what the hell? So now it smells like... It still smells like Tootsie Rolls, but it smells like a sea of Tootsie Rolls, and there's like one like old man in the center smoking like a smoky tobacco, like a Latakia blend, like a Balkan-style tobacco. While, I don't know, eating a box of strawberries, something like that. It's very weird. We're bringing in that kind of like Latakia or maybe Lapsang Souchong kind of note, and I don't hate it. It's just weird. This is a very, very weird bottling, but it's also edifying for me on the palate. Very yummy, and that kind of Latakia smoke thing really, really clings onto the sides of my mouth really, really well. I mean, a lot of people, you would put this side by side with this, and this would be the winner because it's a bigger profile, like smoked chocolate. There's almost like a Demerara rum character to this, which like I appreciate. It also brings lots of other stuff to the table, like the honey is still there, the maltiness. But the development isn't quite as complex. The finish is long, but most of the stuff that's happening in the finish falls away pretty quickly. So what you're left with is a lot of peppery, Latakia smoke kind of character. And, that's sort of the end of the game. And the mouth length is actually shorter than the 12-year-old, despite this being a huge wine cask monster. It's still pretty dang good, though. What am I going to score this? I don't know. This is really difficult to score because it's such an oddball. I'll call this an 86 question mark. It's one of those ones where I'm glad I tried it. I'm so glad I had a chance to taste this. I kind of didn't need a full bottle of it. And yeah, let's leave it at that. 86 question mark. And let us move on to our last pair. which is from one of my all-time favorite distilleries, Glengarioch. Glengarioch. Also an East Highlander, but this one we're talking like further east and a little bit further south. Glengarioch has a long, fascinating history. I love them. I love them. I don't know if they'd be like top 5 malt distilleries for me in Scotland, but we're definitely talking top 10, maybe top 5. We do not have official bottlings yet, but I do have a pair of independent bottlings that I have procured for myself. And one is, I think, what are the ages on this? This is a Mossburn. It is 10 years old. And then this is another The Ultimate, and it is 11 years old. Difference in cask, though. This Mossburn says it was matured in a Madeira HHD, which I think means hogshead. This is going to be the first. So we'll go ahead and read you off the cask, all the information. Binny's Pick. Non-chillfiltered natural color. Distilled 2011. Bottled June 20th, 2022. And there's a long-ass batch number. 318 bottles. 57.1% alcohol. Now, again, kind of like the Glenglassaugh, they aren't telling you, was the Madeira hogshead a re-racking? Is it full maturation in this thing? What exactly is going on with this? I don't know, but it was not super duper expensive. It's 57.1% alcohol, and I kind of love Glengarioch, so let's give it a shot. You're getting a lot of Madeira cask. Raisin. Golden raisin. Marzipan. Yep, nut candy. Just like brown sugar. And we're not talking like the deluxe stuff, the Muscovado stuff. No, we're just talking about you bought a bag of the dark diamond stuff and you emptied it out and you smelled it. That's kind of what this is going for. Other stuff. There is a grainy note to this. Cinnamon toast crunch. Yeah. So, take some cinnamon toast crunch, cover it in brown sugar and some raisins and some marzipan. You're pretty much there. Lightly floral. We're bringing in some dried flowers. A couple of rocks. White pepper. More white pepper. Hints of what is that? Something coffee but sweet, like a sweet cold brew. Like you took some cold brew and you dumped a little bit of like a vanilla creamer in there. Hints of a little bit of a tobacco kind of thing, like a. What kind of tobacco? Like a sweetie tobacco, like a cased vanilla tobacco. The more I swirl this, the more the vanilla comes out, and I didn't know. I suspected maybe this was just a re-racking, a finish in Madeira. I'm kind of now thinking, yeah, this was probably a finish. Because when they don't give you further information, you kind of gotta figure. Okay, very cask dominant nose. It doesn't It's not scratching my Glengarioch itch so far. On the palate. I can see why Benny's picked this one. It's very yummy. Liquid raisins. There's a kind of, imagine PX sherry if it wasn't so overwhelmingly sweet, and that's a lot of what's going on. So like, take your PX raisins, pour it into some oatmeal. PX sherry, not PX raisins. Pour it into some oatmeal. Mix it all around. Maybe add some almonds in there. That's a lot of what this tastes like. Black pepper. A little black tea. A little coffee. Tough to tell what kind of coffee. Vanilla. Vague graininess. Vague apple pear. Orange peel. Is it delicious? Yes, again, I get why they picked this. I really do. I absolutely do. But a little bit of a wood smoky, campfire kind of thing. But yes, it's delicious. But if you buy this because you want a Glengarioch, you're kind of going to be disappointed. Or at least you're going to be like, this isn't throwing Glengarioch at me. It's not the end of the world. Again, it's super yummy. There's a honey thing happening. There's like a brown sugar thing happening. It's very yummy. It's very satisfying. If I poured this to you, for you, you would probably like this. But imagine how much better it would be if it tasted like a Glengarioch. Glengarioch is just one of those absolutely legendary distilleries, and you would never know it by the stats. No worm tubs, no peat. In the old days, they were peated, but not since the early 90s. Although they might be bringing that back. They're bringing back maltings and long conversation. But despite this lack of interesting stats, higher distillation strength, stuff that doesn't look really super great on paper, it's an incredibly complex spirit. And I absolutely adore it. I've thrown killer scores at Glengariochs in the past. If there was no declaration of distillery, if it had any other distillery name on this, I wouldn't be annoyed. But because it says Glengarioch, one of my absolute favorite distilleries in Scotland, I'm left feeling a little bit disappointed. But you know what? We're going to add some water. We're going to add some water to this thing. See what happens. 3, 4. It's going to take at least 4. Let's go 4.5. And we shall move on to the ultimate here. I do buy a lot of ultimates because they're not that expensive and they just tend not to futz around with the cask too much. Even when Signatory is finishing every goddamn thing in a dripping wet sherry barrel because they know people will pay more money for something that looks like motor oil, like I just grab the nearest pillow and start screaming into it. They've let this alone. This is a Glengarioch from 2011 that they matured in bourbon barrels for 11 years, and thank heaven for that. Distilled December 21st, 2011. It's actually 2 casks, so 4617 and 4621. Bottled January 10th. Reading European dates. July 10th. This video is longer than I anticipated. July 10th, 2023. 481 bottles, cask strength of 59.2%. Okay, we're almost at the end of this. On the nose. Pay dirt. Here we go. Take some apples and pears, a little bit grungy, like heirloom varietals. Smash the hell out of them. Keep all the like green stuff in there, the cores, the stems, and then like take all that and then get some flinty soil and just like dribble flint all over your mashed fruit. That is what this smells like. There's some vanilla in here too. Creme brulee. Touches of some kind of tea, like a lighter tea, like I don't know, like a white tea, maybe with a little bit of peach in there. Sure, let's go with that. Lemon rind, orange rind. Get to my head. This Glengarioch distillate is probably the least exciting the distillery has ever been. You know, honestly. But even so, there is a deep complexity to this stuff that I absolutely adore. It's God, what is that? There's like almost like a Chinese bean paste bun element to this. Yeah, that's absolutely what this is. There's like so take a Chinese bean paste bun, you're reheating it, you throw it in your little your mini oven, you leave it a little bit too long, it gets a little bit burned. Yep, there we go. White pepper. Some kind of soggy coffee grinds. I know none of this sounds appetizing, but it's hitting my happy place. Nectarine skin, peach skin. Little whispers of gooseberry in there, like almost a gooseberry eau de vie kind of thing. We're close to the grain. Like this is, if I were critical, I would say this is a little bit new makey, and wow, I don't hate that. In fact, it's doing some of the same things that the Flotilla, the Pulteney was doing, but I feel like it's doing it a little bit better. It's just a very pure expression of Pulteney spirit, augmented by a little bit of oak. This was not a super active cask. Well, I don't know. My opinion might change when I taste it, but on the nose, it's very, very spirit driven, which makes me very happy. On the palate. Yeah, it's absolutely spirit-driven. There's a raw character to this. Like smushed apple, pear with stems and cores and all that stuff. Flint. Also like a beer element, like a golden lager. You pour some golden lager all over this, all over everything. Honey, vanilla, black pepper. Oh, just... Oh, and it's not... the character is not super duper complex in terms of the notes involved, but there's like... the development, the mouth presence is really, really good. Like, this is what I wanted from this friggin' Mossburn. It's just like there's a halo of dried flowers left over when I swallow on the finish. Like dried flowers, black tea leaves. That peach thing, the nectarine thing, but like bitter nectarine. There's lots of little things. There's tons of little things going on with this. And that's why the Highlands are so fun, especially Eastern Highlands. Again, not one to throw to a beginner of any sort. Actually, really most of these, pretty much everything in this video, is not something you want to throw to a beginner. It's just gonna... they're just not gonna know, like, they're just gonna pass it over. Like, they're gonna pick their, like, 3 notes, and they're gonna taste some Ardbeg or some Glengarioch or something afterwards, and that's what's gonna, like, stick in their mind. These have just got more going on. Yeah, this is really tickling my throat. Great mouth length, good finish. Mouthfeel is good. I don't... it's not as great as the others. But be aware. This is, in some ways, quite a raw bottling. It's not going to hold your hand. There's an austerity, not austerity. You're close to the elements with this. Even more so than I said the Flotilla was like a Pulteney eau de vie. This really tastes like Glengarioch eau de vie, and I absolutely love it. So far, it could fall on its face, but we'll see. All right, 1, 2, 3 squirts, 4 squirts, 5 squirts. It's just like fresh pear juice or something. Oh man. Back to the Mossburn. On the nose, we are bringing even more. It's like you took some brown sugar and muddled it with honey. That's really kind of the note here. No, I mean the raisins and the marzipan is still around. Am I getting whispers of like the intense pear kind of thing I was getting on this one? Yeah, a little bit if you go looking for it. It might be some like a little bit of a pear brandy kind of thing floating in the back of this. But it's not prominent. This is really all about the cask. And you know what? it's not the worst thing in the world. It smells yummy. It smells really yummy, and I imagine it's going to taste really yummy. Let's see what happens. It's much more peppery. Yeah, I do suspect this was a re-racking rather than full maturation in Madeira. But it feels like it was a pretty long re-racking, a couple of years maybe. Peppery, raisiny, nutty, super in your face, big. In some ways, it's a very different malt from this wine cask Glenglassaugh I was talking about earlier. But in some ways, it's got... This is another one where I could see someone absolutely ranking this above this. Because it's big. It's big and fat and in your face, brings a lot of woody elements to the table. Especially after you add water, it brings out a lot of pepper. Mouth presence might be even a hair bit better as well. But it does, if I'm honest, it feels a little bit flat to me. It really does. Not to say bad. But the good stuff doesn't have as much depth as I'd like. You would enjoy this if I poured this for you. You really would. But, yeah, I'm going to score this, I think, the same as I scored the wine cask Glenglassaugh. I'm going to call this an 86 pointer. And that's that. It's pretty good, though. Like, if you bought this from a Binny's, don't be sad. This is yummy. This ultimate Glengarioch is the sort of thing that would never, ever, ever win in a big, fat whiskey competition. Never. It's just too raw. It's too beery. It's too, pushing new makey fruit in your face. And if anything, the adding a little bit of water to this has brought out those new makey notes even more. It's kind of pulled back on the kind of sense of vanilla that was already there. But for me, who absolutely appreciates the complexity of the Glengarioch spirit, I'm totally into this. I'm totally on board. It's a little bit more floral now. A little bit more beery. We're bringing a little bit more of that kind of golden lager kind of character. Not crappy macro brew stuff. We're talking the good stuff here. On the palate. Still not my favorite Glengarioch ever, but oh man, is this good for me. So The palate, yeah, you're getting those kind of raw apple, perry kinds of notes, the floral halo thing. But water brings out a creme brulee coffee kind of characteristic, which has to be from the cask, right? Which is just absolutely anchoring things in a really wonderful way. This one totally benefits from water. Oh, that is a beautiful development. It really is. I don't know what to say. I went into this kind of so, okay. I should say the order I expected my preferences to go were like Glen Garioch, Pulteney, Glenglassaugh. And the Glenglassaugh kind of surprised me. I think it's actually, taken second place. It's not winning, though, because this is winning. This is just a really fantastic bottle of malt. If you can appreciate this style. I'm going to go 87 plus on this. You have to be willing to deal with a certain degree of rawness to this, but I guarantee you, if you can deal with that, and if you throw a couple of teaspoons of water into this will show up for you. 87 plus points, which makes this, I think, the winner. And the second place goes to the Glenglassaugh, and then... Oh, no, it's a tie between the Glenglassaugh 12 and this Pulteney 14. And so, yeah, what am I talking about? These are pretty close, actually. Delightful. Okay, I guess that's the video. Thanks for watching all these 100 hour and 17 minutes or so. I guess I'll see you next week. Thanks for watching and cheers.